Okay, so we have these needs, okay? They can be physical, emotional, mental, like spiritual, like energetic, soul level. That's like spiritual is energetic, is like your soul level. So there's, we want to be expressed. We want to follow our like unique path and do the things we love. And if we don't get to do those, then that creates like a trauma as well. If that's so, if one of those needs, under those comes other ones, like under physical warmth, shelter, food, water, nutrients, things like that, sunlight. If a need was not met or there was a fear that it would not be met, then we kind of create these traumas or wounds, okay? And this just means a wound is an energetic charge in our body that is big enough to, for our nervous system to mark it as important, okay? And then if we don't know how to process that energetic charge, it becomes stored in our body. And every time that wound is triggered by something that looks like what originally caused it, then we reactivate that cycle. And again, if we cannot complete the cycle or process that wound or meet the need that that wound was formed because of, then we make it stronger. And the next thing comes up and it reminds us, okay, so this can be like these wounds can be called because we were bullied for something, we were humiliated, we stood up in class and we said something, it was like laughed at, or our parents kept giving us, if we did a certain thing or we were loud or we spoke up when we weren't meant to, and they kept giving us even a look, okay, or like given out to, the trauma is caused either by like a trauma, something, an event that happened that's like so big that it traumatized you. And I think like most people can see, that it created such an energetic charge in your body because of fear or whatever it was, or shame, or any one of those emotions, that it was like big enough in one instance that caused the wound, or something, again, that look, that you got to look every time you did something. And then you feared that if your parent disapproved of you, what you thought was just like speaking your truth, basically, it was just speaking up and saying your needs, when really it was just because they were on the phone or something, you perceived it as that. And that was something that happened over and over again, that you were told to be quiet, or you were given a look when you spoke up or were loud. And this happened over and over. That creates a wound. And again, that wound is just your nervous system has marked that as important and is now storing that in your body, because if anything that comes up and irritates that wound because it looks like the original one that caused it, then it will do the same defense, which is your nervous system will trigger that emotion, which will then trigger the thoughts, which then puts you into like a nervous system state, and you are actively looking for threats, and your body releases cortisol, and basically this continues. So feeling unheard, unwanted, shamed, fear, boundaries crossed, unloved, bad, broken. You might feel any of those things for any reason. And anyway, that creates a big energetic wound. And then if you don't know how to process that, that will continue to live in your body. And the thing is, as kids, definitely can relate. Like, I don't think our parents knew how to do a lot of that emotional processing. This is something I think that was lost when like our societies were being built, and we just, like, society and culture just wanted people to be productive. Well, it's more productive to just keep going and just ignore your emotions. And then women were made to feel bad. We're called like hysterical because of our more fluctuating emotions, but that's actually how our bodies work. We're actually meant to feel all the different emotions. And what's not bad is having the emotions. What makes them feel bad is that we resist them and shut them down and push them down. and the meaning that we give them. If we're thinking they're bad, then it will be reflected as bad in the body. So if when we're younger and we're crying, we're sad, and then we're told to like shut up, stop that, that's bad, go to your room, we associate feeling sad or down as negative. So then every time, naturally, our bodies are going to feel sad because it's like one of the emotions on the state of consciousness. We keep making ourselves feel bad about it. We're actually setting off like a process in our bodies and mind of that we are bad when we have that. And the thing is, this isn't helpful, isn't it? Because we are going to feel sad, we are going to feel angry, we are going to feel shame sometimes. But if we're making that mean something negative, we're actually making the energetic charge bigger for these than it has to be. So we're like perpetuating the cycle. And because we aren't taught how to process our emotions or how to healthily cope with them or express them, then we never get rid of that charge. It builds up in our bodies, and then it comes out in self-sabotage, in unwanted emotional reactions, in our negative health symptoms, in not being able to achieve our goals, and not being able to believe that we're worthy of like what we want, because we've got all this like chaotic charge and shame and anger and sadness inside of us that we never processed. And this happens to highly sensitive or empathetic people, are more likely to be affected. And also if your environment was nurturing or not. So if you had parents who were aware of how to handle emotions, if they were aware of like what I'm teaching now, like about our thoughts and our emotions, and they made you safe to feel yourself, and they nurtured that, and they encouraged you to speak out, and they encouraged you to be seen and heard and foster your creativity, and you were made to feel safe in that, then people, highly sensitive kids who are in that environment, are probably thriving artists or original architects, or they were able to, and everyone has wounds or trauma, like everyone does. It's just your environment can strangle you or it can nurture you. Okay. Gabor Mate says, like, if you put a group of cells in a toxic culture, like, cells in a petri dish, and one's in a supportive environment, full of nutrients and what it needs to grow, and one's in a toxic culture, it's like, do you say there's something wrong with the cells or something wrong with the environment? So it's not us. And even if you are a highly sensitive person, there is a purpose why we're highly sensitive. It's because they're the people, the deep thinkers, the creative people who can see beauty in stuff. They're the healers and the nurturers who can pick up on other people's like emotions and feelings and intuitively know what to do. And then there may be people who are like less sensitive because they need to go out and like kill the animals. Obviously, I always go back to like hunter gatherer days, but they were needed to do more rough and ready things, and things that maybe more sensitive people are like, oh, don't want to do that. But because these people don't like feel it as much, like they're not as don't have as much of an emotional authority, they do those things. Fortunately, our modern society like glorifies the more that kind of masculine energy, the productivity, the do everything, the be the same person every day and show up the same way and have the same energy and don't show emotions because they're weak and they get in the way. And as well in school, like they push you more into less artistic things. They're like, that's not where the money is. Like you have to go to be a lawyer or a doctor or in the stock market and things like that. And we're taught that being maybe our true self way is like the wrong way. And these are the people who end up with all like the health issues and the chronic symptoms and the autoimmunity, or just like you may be so gifted in like what you do and you just can't actually put yourself out there because your nervous system just doesn't feel that it's safe. And of course, my program, like I Am Woman, that's the whole point, is to make you safe enough to not only heal and be regulated and healthy and express yourself in your current environment, but also to build that up so you can actually go out and achieve like whatever you want. Put yourself out there, speak your truth, like honor and state your boundaries, go after your dreams, get the body you want, things like that. So when I say this energetic charge, I'm just going to call it like a wound. So we know a wound is kind of like open and it's sore, and we'll basically put things over it to protect it. Okay. So then when we're wounded, we start to create masks and protections. They're called like protections and projections. So if you thought that you weren't good enough, there was something that, you know, constantly showed you that you weren't good enough, or again, one big incident, something where you failed a test and then your parent got like really, really angry at you or something like that, then you thought, okay, if I just be perfect, if I just achieve enough, then this won't happen again. So that created a wound that you didn't know how to process, because we don't, because as kids, again, we weren't taught that. If you're your nervous system will reflect your caregivers or those who most look after you. It will reflect their nervous system. So if they were constantly in fight or flight, you will take that on as well, because we're like little sponges at that age. So again, if something made you feel not good enough, and then that left such a charge in your body that you didn't know how to process or deal with, you do the best that you can at the time. And at the time, you just said, well, if I don't fail again, if I just stay perfect, if I just achieve, that will make them happy. And then I will be loved. And then I won't be abandoned, or nobody will think I'm broken and like throw me away, and I will be safe. Okay, this is the way our minds work. We take on other coping strategies. So like that band-aid, we put it over it. Okay, so instead of heal the wound, which healing the wound would mean feeling the emotion, like reframing your thoughts, which kids can't do, but we can help them do if we know how. So say that happened, and then afterwards the parent kind of like thought about it, and they're like, oh, that was like very reactive of me, and I don't actually think that. They go in and they will help the kids like reframe the situation. I'm sorry, that doesn't make you're not a bad person. That's okay to fail, like as in we all fail sometimes, like you tried, and let's just study more for like the next one. We can do it together and we'll see how it goes. But it's okay to fail. It doesn't mean anything about you. It doesn't mean anything about you. It just means you failed this test, that you just didn't have the knowledge to do this test. It doesn't make you broken or bad or useless or anything. If we can explain that to them and process the emotion, it's okay to feel that emotion of feeling bad or shame. The emotion is not you. You just felt that because of this, but that doesn't mean anything about you. You are still smart, intelligent, valuable. And these are things we do because now we're all just big inner children running around with all these wounds, trying to raise other children. And if we don't know how to process these, then we will pass the same thing on to them. No matter what you say, again, like I said, your child will inherit your state of being. They will inherit your nervous system. They will inherit your beliefs. Despite what you tell them, you could tell them they're the best in the world. But if you don't feel like the best in the world yourself, then they feel that. And they will feel that. They don't feel that about you. They feel that about themselves. So anyway, the wound, like I said, we get these protections and projections. So perfectionism, caretaking, people pleasing, just if I do things for other people, that'll like keep them happy, overachieve. So that's the bandage we put over it, when really we should be healing, tending to the actual wound. And the bandage can like help for a while, like that when we don't know any better, it can help for a while, and then we go back in. But because we don't know this stuff, we generally don't go back in, and we just leave it. And that wound, anytime something comes up, so you know, a year later something happens, you feel like you failed again, that it reopens that wound. You create that energy again, and you give that energy you give that wound more energy. And then because we don't know how to process it or deal with it properly, it's just we're making it bigger. And what happens is our consciousness as a whole, and when something big enough happens, it splits off and creates what are called like parts, or fragments of our whole selves, because when we're born, we're holy. We are holy. We are holy. When we're born, we're whole, and we're, like I said, we can state our needs and we're free to be our true selves. We're not like ashamed and things like that. And it's these wounds and stuff that make us feel that way. So then we grow up and, you know, we self-esteem issues. We don't feel good enough. We feel like we have to be perfect to be good enough or valuable.